Anthropic, Claude, Opus 4.7, OpenAI, ChatGPT, GPT 5.5, Gemini 3.5, Flash, Microsoft Copilot. What is the difference between all these names? We use company names, apps, and AI model names interchangeably, and this is a huge issue. I have heard people compare Copilot with ChatGPT when the two apps use the same underlying AI model. The user interface differs, but the model is the same. And it has just become more interesting. Microsoft has started embedding Anthropic's Claude directly into Microsoft 365 Copilot, meaning the same Copilot button on your screen might run a model from Microsoft's partner, OpenAI, or a model from a completely different company, Anthropic. Same app, different engine. And soon, Microsoft might be embarking on creating their own foundational AI model, which will be incorporated into Copilot, when if it is launched. We must distinguish between models and how companies package and present those models to us in different apps. Otherwise, we end up comparing apples with pears, and that helps no one. In this video, I will fix that for you. Together, we will break down the three layers that get confused: the company, the model, and the app, or GUI, that you use. Understand what a foundational model actually is and why most AI products are not foundational models. Map the big four: Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, and Microsoft to their model and apps, including the brand new Microsoft Anthropic story. Look at why a single company offers several models and what Opus, Sonnet, Haiku, GPT-5, GPT-5 Mini, Pro, and Flash all mean for your wallet. Walk through how to actually check which model an app is using. Touch briefly on the open source world, Llama, Mistral, DeepSeek, and why it matters, even if you never run such a model yourself. Close with a simple framework for picking the right tool for the right job. You don't need to be technical to follow this. If you've watched my video What is AI, you'll find this as a natural next step. With that out of the way, let's get into it. Let's start with a metaphor that makes this stick. The model is the engine. It is the actual thing doing the reasoning. When you ask an AI a question and get a useful answer back, the work is being done by the model, is the brain. The app, the graphical user interface, or GUI, is the car. It is how you interact with the engine. It's the steering wheel, the dashboard, the buttons, the seats. Some cars are sporty, some are family-friendly, some are designed for off-road. The car wraps around the engine and changes the experience of driving, but it does not change what's under the hood. The company is the manufacturer. It designs the engines. It also designs cars that use those engines. And in many cases, it sells or licenses the engine to other manufacturers who build their own cars around it. Here's the key insight. Two different cars can have the same engine. Two different apps can run the same AI model. And as we will see in a moment, the same car brand can switch which engine it uses, or even offer you a choice of engines. This is the mental model we're going to use the rest of the video. Engine, car, manufacturer, or in plain language, model, app, company. Before we map the four big companies, you need one more concept. You will hear the words foundational model or foundational model everywhere, in news articles, in vendor pitches, in LinkedIn posts. Let me explain what this actually means in plain language. A foundational model is a model that has been built from scratch, trained on enormous amounts of general data, like the internet, books, code, conversations. It is built to handle a wide range of tasks: writing, answering questions, summarizing, coding, translating. It is the engine in our metaphor, the raw, general-purpose reasoning system. Building a foundational model is extremely expensive. We're talking hundreds of millions to billions of dollars in compute costs alone, plus years of research, huge engineering teams, and access to vast amounts of training data. Realistically, only a small handful of companies in the world can afford to do this from scratch. Everything else, and this is the important part, is built on top of foundational models. A fine-tuned model is a foundational model that has been further trained on a narrower, more specific dataset to make it better at a particular job. Fine-tune a foundational model on medical notes, and you get an AI that is better at clinical language. Fine-tune it on legal contracts, and you get an AI that handles legal text more reliably. The expensive base layer, the foundation, is reused. The customization on top of it is cheap by comparison. Then on top of that, you have apps and AI features that simply wrap a foundational or fine-tuned model in a user interface with some prompts and integrations bolted on. Why does this matter to you? Because most companies that advertise their proprietary AI have not built a foundational model. They've taken someone else's, GPT, Claude, Llama, and wrapped it, fine tuned it, or simply added their own brand on top. That's not a problem. It is how the industry works. But when you read powered by our proprietary AI, you should mentally translate that to wrapped around someone else's foundational model, probably with our own data and prompts on top. A useful rule of thumb: if a company tells you they built a foundational model from scratch, they should be able to name it, version it, publish details about it, and ideally have a research paper or model card behind it. If they cannot, they almost certainly did not build one. And that is fine. Most great AI products are built on top of someone else's foundation. But you should know the difference. Right, now we have the vocabulary. Let's map the companies. Let's apply this to the 4 companies you hear about constantly. Names you have seen on LinkedIn, in the news, in every business article for the last 3 years. All 4 of them build foundational models. Anthropic is the company, founded by former OpenAI researchers, headquartered in San Francisco. The foundational models Anthropic makes are called Claude. The model family includes Opus, Sonnet, and Haiku, each with a version number, for example, Claude Opus 4.7. The apps Anthropic offers are Claude.ai in your browser, the Claude desktop app, the Claude mobile app, Claude Code for developers in their terminal, and Cowork, which I covered in details in a separate video. So when you see Claude, that is the model family. When you see Claude.ai, that is an app. Anthropic is the company that makes both. OpenAI is the company, also San Francisco-based, probably the most famous of the 4 because of how ChatGPT exploded in late 2022. The foundational models OpenAI makes are the GPT family, GPT-5, GPT-5 Mini, GPT-5 Nano, and so on, plus the reasoning models with letters like O in front, used for tougher analytical work. The apps OpenAI offers are ChatGPT in your browser, the ChatGPT mobile app and desktop apps, and Sora for video. They also sell their models to other companies through what's called an API, meaning other companies can plug OpenAI's model directly into their own apps without you even seeing the OpenAI logo. So GPT is the model, ChatGPT is the app, OpenAI is the company. Google is the company. The foundational models Google makes are called Gemini. They come in tiers: Pro for the most capable, Flash for faster and cheaper, Nano for all device. The apps are gemini.google.com in your browser, the Gemini mobile app, and Gemini built into Google Workspace, so Gmail, Docs, Sheets, and Slides all get the Gemini sidebar. Google also makes an open weight model family called Gemma, which we will come back to briefly later. Microsoft is the company, and here things get genuinely interesting, because Microsoft is the clearest example you'll find of the company app model layers being not one-to-one. The app is Copilot in all its variants. Copilot in Windows, Microsoft 365 Copilot inside Office, GitHub Copilot for coders, and Microsoft owns the Copilot brand. The models underneath, though, are not all Microsoft's own. For years, Copilot has run mainly on OpenAI's foundational models, GPT, and the reasoning models, through Microsoft's deep partnership and large investments in OpenAI. And here's what's new and worth paying attention to. In March 2026, Microsoft announced something that surprised a lot of people. Microsoft launched Copilot Cowork, a new feature inside Microsoft 365 Copilot designed for long-running, multi-step work. And it's powered by Anthropic's Claude, not by OpenAI. Pause on that for a moment. Microsoft has had a $13 billion partnership with OpenAI. They have also signed a separate $30 billion Azure Compute deal with Anthropic. And inside the Copilot product, you click on At Work. There are now 2 engines under the hood, OpenAI's GPT and Anthropic's Claude. And you can, in some apps, choose between them. Microsoft has also recently stated that it will create its own foundational model. So that will be interesting to follow, and we might see it in Copilot soon, so you can choose between that as well. If you want a single example to remember the company app model distinction, this is it. Microsoft is the company, Copilot is the app, the engine is inside the app, and you would be able to choose between different models. 2 important practical implications. Right, that is the big 4. Same pattern 4 times. Company at the top, foundational models in the middle, and apps at the bottom. Now that you have the map in your head, let's talk about why this confusion is everywhere and why it actually matters. It is everywhere because marketing wants it to be. Microsoft doesn't put powered by OpenAI's GPT and Anthropic's Claude in big letters at the top of Copilot. Why would they? Their brand is Copilot. The whole point of building an app around the model is that you, the user, identify with the app, not the engine. The same is true throughout the AI ecosystem. Thousands of business software vendors have added an AI feature to their product. The chatbot in your CRM, the AI summary in your email tool, the smart suggestions in your design app. In most cases, that feature is powered by GPT or Claude or Gemini, but the vendor brands it as their own intelligence. You never see the engine name. This matters in 3 concrete ways. 1. Vendor evaluations. When a vendor pitches you our proprietary AI, you should ask, which foundational model is underneath? Did you build a model, or are you wrapping somebody else's? If they wrap GPT, you are paying twice. Once to the vendor, and the vendor pays OpenAI. You need to know whether the value add justifies that margin, or whether what you're really paying for is foundational model plus a thin layer of user interface. 2. Comparisons. If you read a comparison article online, Copilot versus ChatGPT for business, and the author does not specify which underlying model, which tier, and which configuration they tested, the comparison is probably meaningless. You're reading car reviews where the reviewer never opened the hood. 3. Diagnosing what went wrong. When someone says, AI did a terrible job on this, the cause is rarely just one layer. Bad output is usually a mix of 3 things. Bad prompting, the question was vague, missing context, or asked the wrong thing. Hallucinations, the model confidently invented the fact that isn't true, which is something all current AI models still do. An app-level configuration. The app was running a smaller, cheaper model tier by default, or had a setting like deep thinking or extended reasoning switched off. Knowing the layers, company, app, model, plus the settings sitting on top, is not a single cause explanation. It is a diagnostic toolkit. It helps you ask, was it my prompt? Was it the model? Or was it the way the app is configured? Most of the time, all 3 contributed something. This is what I mean by apples to pears. When the 3 layers are blurred, and on top of that we ignore the prompting and settings, you cannot have a real conversation about what works, what does not, and what to buy. Once you've sorted out company, app, and model, the next question almost always comes up. Why does the same company sell 3 or 4 versions of what looks like the same thing? Why is there Opus and Sonnet and Haiku? Why GPT-5 and GPT-5 Mini and GPT 5.5 and GPT-5 Nano? Why Gemini Pro and Gemini Flash? The answer is the same reason a car manufacturer sells a sports model, a family model, and a city car. They are all cars. They all drive, but they are optimized for different jobs and different budgets. For AI models, the trade-off is between 3 things: how smart the model is, how fast it answers, and how much it costs to run. A bigger model is generally smarter. It handles complex reasoning, long documents, subtle instructions, nuanced writing, but it is slower to respond, and it costs more per question, sometimes a lot more. A smaller model is the opposite: faster, cheaper, but it will get a complex task run more often. For simple, repetitive jobs, that trade-off is excellent. For a hard analytical task, it is bad. Let me make this more concrete. If you are using AI to summarize a 1-page meeting note, you do not need the biggest, most expensive model. A smaller, cheaper tier will do that perfectly well. If you are using AI to analyze a 200-page annual report and pull out the financial risks, you want the heavyweight. The difference in output quality is significant, and the difference in cost between models can be 10, 20, even 50 times. This matters most when you start using AI through an API rather than through a chat app, because then you're paying per use. In the browser app, the company has often picked a model tier for you. In Cloud.ai, you can choose. In ChatGPT, the model picker dropdown reflects this exact same logic. The practical takeaway: when you hear someone say, I tried GPT and it was not good at all, the first question to ask is, which GPT? Because GPT 5.5 and GPT 5 Mini are not the same product. The result of asking the smallest, cheapest tier in the family will be very different from asking the top model. People share screenshots of bad AI answers all the time without telling you which tier they use. Same goes for Claude. Opus is largest, Sonnet in the middle, Haiku is the fastest and smallest. Same goes for Gemini, Pro versus Flash versus Nano. When you read a product review of Gemini, ask which Gemini, for example. Right, theory done. Let's get practical for a few minutes. I will walk you through how to actually identify the model behind whatever app you are using. In ChatGPT in the browser, look at the top of the conversation. There is a model selector, a drop-down that shows the model name. Click it and you can see which version is active. Switch between them and the answer you get will be visibly different. In Claude in the browser, same idea. Look at the top, you will see the model selector, Opus, Sonnet, Haiku, with the version number. The same goes for Microsoft Copilot. Click the button and check which model is being used. In Gemini, top of the page, you can see the version, Gemini Pro, Flash, and so on. For apps that do not show the model name on screen, look in the settings, the help page, or the company's model card page on their website. Reputable vendors document this. If a vendor refuses to tell you which model powers their AI feature, that is a red flag worth noting. In your own organization, when buying software with AI features, this should be a procurement question. Which model? Hosted where? With what data residency? Under what privacy terms? Everything we have discussed so far is what's called closed source or proprietary. The company owns the foundational model. You use it through their app or via their API. There's another world, the open source or open await world, where companies publish the actual model file so anyone can download it, host it, or fine-tune it. The names to know are Llama from Meta, Mistral from France, DeepSeek and Qwen from China, and Gemma, Google's OpenWeight family, alongside the closed Gemini. Why does this matter, even if you never run a model yourself? 3 reasons. Data privacy. With an open model, your data can stay inside your own infrastructure rather than going through OpenAI's or Anthropic's servers. Cost at scale. Hosting your own model can be much cheaper if you are processing millions of requests. And control. You can fine-tune the model on your own data. The wrinkle worth knowing. An open model like Llama is not tied to one host. It can be run on Meta's infrastructure, on AWS, on Together AI, on your own server, or on your own laptop. Same engine, many manufacturers building cars around it. I will go deeper into the open source landscape in a dedicated video. For today, the takeaway is just this. When a vendor or colleague says AI, the engine could be closed and from one of the big 4, or it could be open and running anywhere. Both are real, and you should know which you are using. Let me close out the educational part by listing the most common confusions so you can spot them. Is ChatGPT better than Copilot? Often these are running models from the same company. The correct question is, which model, in which configuration, in which app, for what task? These models are from the same company, OpenAI. The correct question is, which model exactly, which tier, in which configuration, in which app, for what task? I tried AI and it was bad. Which AI? Free tier model, paid model tier, a year-old model, a current one, with what prompt? With deep thinking, on or off? AI is not a product. There are thousands of products with very different capabilities and settings. You don't compare a McLaren with a truck or a family Volvo car. My competitor uses GPT, so we should too. You may already be using GPT through Copilot, through a feature inside your CRM, through an embedded chatbot on a vendor's site. The branding hides what is underneath. Ask the vendor. We use Microsoft, so we do not use Anthropic. This used to be roughly true. As of March 2026, as I mentioned, it isn't. If your organization enables Copilot Cowork or joins the Frontier program, you are using Anthropic's Claude inside Microsoft's product, inside your own Microsoft 365 tenant. The boundary between the Microsoft world and the Anthropic world is no longer clear. This vendor has its own proprietary AI. Maybe, more often, they have wrapped a foundational model from one of the big providers and added their own user interface and data on top. That is fine, but you should know it. These confusions matter because they affect real procurement decisions, real budgets, and real conversations with vendors. Getting them straight in your head is worth more than knowing the latest benchmark scores. Final segment. How do you actually choose a tool now that you know the layers? 4 questions. Use them as a checklist. Question 1. What is a job? Summarizing emails is a different job from drafting legal contracts, and it's different from analyzing financial models. Match the model tier to the difficulty of the task. Do not pay for the heavyweight when a lighter model will do, and do not expect the lightweight to handle the heavyweight job. Question 2. Where does the data go? If the task involves sensitive information, regulated data, or anything covered by privacy law, you need to know where your prompt and the answer are processed. This is where the closed versus open conversation matters, and where data residency matters. For most personal and small business use, the standard cloud app are fine. For an EU-regulated industry handling personal data, the question is much sharper. For a company in EU handling personal data, for example, the question is much more difficult. Question 3. Where do you already work? If your team lives in Microsoft 365, Word, Outlook, Teams, Copilot integrates well, and now offers both OpenAI and Anthropic models in one place. If you live in Google Workspace, Gemini integrates there. If you live in neither, Claude or ChatGPT as standalone apps or tools may make more sense. Integration is real value. The best model in a tool nobody opens is worse than slightly weaker model in a tool you already use. Question 4. How often will you use it? A subscription that costs 20 or 30 euros a month is excellent value if you use it daily and it changes your output. It is wasted money if it sits unused. Match the spend to the actual usage. Notice what is missing from this list. Which model has the best benchmark score? Benchmark scores matter for engineers tuning systems. For most business users, fit to task and fit to workflow matter more. So that is the picture. Company at the top, Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, and others. Foundational models in the middle, Claude, GPT, Gemini, and the open alternatives, each with tiers, versions, and fine-tuned versions. App or GUI at the bottom, Claude.ai, ChatGPT, Gemini in Workspace, Copilot in Office, and countless third-party apps built on top of these models. The same engine can power many cars. Different cars can come from the same manufacturer, or from different ones. And as Microsoft showed with Copilot, the same car brand can switch engines or offer you a choice. Next time somebody in a meeting says we should use this or that AI tool, you will know which question to ask first. If this video has reframed how you think about AI tools, hit the like button and subscribe, and share it with a colleague who needs to hear it. If you want more hands-on help cutting through AI hype, visit my website. See you in the next one.